Hello, rock and roll daycare community. It's Barb, your curriculum director. It's Tuesday, which means it's our Tuesday training tools day. As always, I hope everyone is having a fabulous start to the week. And we are in the month of June. We are talking about the prepared environment, our classrooms, a really, really important topic and discussion, just like all of our monthly themes, right? So when we think about our prepared environments in our classrooms, we're really, trying to figure out a way that we can design the classrooms so it allows the children to be independent and to self-initiate work and to have really beautiful, deep moments of concentration, some really nice social opportunities, some really nice community opportunities. And although as teachers, we can guide and contrive some of these situations, a lot of the ways that these situations naturally occur for young children is the way that we design our environments. And that's why we put so much effort and time and resources and attention to detail into this very subject, because we know the importance that every item in that environment and the way that it is set up is there for the children and for their benefit and to help their learning and their interests and their curiosity and their questions. So it's really, really important that we do pay attention to these details and that we take a lot of time to reflect on our environment and is it supporting the learning and the needs in our classroom and the children in our classroom. And we observe and then we reflect and we adjust. That might sound familiar from another month, right? So we should always be doing that with our environments as well. And here at Rock and Roll, we give you some resources that you can use to make sure that you are staying within the parameters of our expectations of our philosophy. We are Montessori inspired, we are music based, but we also respect and we welcome educators that are not musicians and that are not Montessori trained, because like I said, we give the resources so that you can still be a successful educator in our learning environments. As long as you have passion and you love children and you love to learn, our structure is set up in a way that you can be successful. So last week we talked about the material making checklist. That is one example of a resource that we give that allows you as an educator in your classroom to take ownership of your classroom, to come up with your own lessons, but also gives you, again, the guidelines of this is how you would follow it to make it Montessori. Because again, I understand that majority of you are not Montessori trained, and that's completely fine. But when we do present the works on the shelves or the toys or the learning materials, whatever you want to call them, we want to make sure they're set up in a way that is that, like I said earlier, allows for that independence for the children, and that they can engage with the works without too much teacher direction after the initial lesson. So we provide the material making checklist. I loved reading all your responses about why these material making checklists are important. Almost all of you, if not all of you, had some really great ways of explaining, yes, it's important because of X, Y, and Z, okay? But this week, now that we had a little overview of the importance of the prepared environment, I want you to go back to those material making checklists. And instead of focusing on the why they're important, I want you to focus on how you're going to implement the material making checklist into your classroom, or reflect on how you currently use it. Is it something you use on a daily basis? Is it something on a weekly basis? Do you bring it to your program specialist meetings or meetings with directors? Do you talk about it with your co-teachers? There's no right or wrong way to exactly use the material making checklist, but the bottom line is that it should be used. So that means that if I were to walk into any center or classroom, I could go up to the shelf and any work on that shelf would follow the checklist based on the age and the division that you teach in. So obviously that's going to look very different for infants compared to preschool. But the bottom line is that, that order should be there, that the work should be self-contained, they should be complete, all those other lovely details that are on the material making checklist. So if I were to walk in and I had the checklist in my hand, it would reflect all the learning materials in your environment. And again, this isn't to This isn't to be a nag or to say, oh, we do things. This is really for the children. It's for the children's needs. If you want to have, good classroom, if you want to improve your classroom management or your work periods, or if you want your children to just be more engaged with the environment, these resources, the material making checklist, helps to make sure that that happens. So last week we focused on the why these resources are important. Now this week I want you to spend the week focusing on how you're actually engaging with these resources. And this does not only have to be the material making checklist. This can be the shelf expectation checklist. It could be your work rotation outlines, or your curriculum binders. And if these are terms that are new to you because you're a newer teacher, engage with your program specialist. Get them to, get the copies out. Make sure that these original copies live in your curriculum binder. And these are the resources for you so you can be successful in your classrooms and have that freedom, because we want to give our educators that freedom. Again, we want you to feel like it is your classroom, that you are the one that is truly driving your curriculum and all the ideas around it, just as long as you follow these resources and guidelines within your learning environment, to make sure it's following our philosophy and our expectations. So there you have it. A kind of an extension of last week's Tuesday training tools to say we focused on the why. Now how are you doing it? What does your weekly rhythm look like in terms of your reflection on the prepared environment, and maybe some ways you want to improve or learn new things about? I will give you this week to work on that. So I hope you have some great conversations with your co-teachers, your program specialists, or your directors, and have some nice, thoughtful reflections. And we'll meet back here next week to continue our discussion about the prepared environment and the importance around this topic. So have a great week, everyone, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.